Our weekend debate special, where we're having bite-sized pieces looking around the constituency. Douglas North, David Ashford, Kevin Olsen-Smith, Ralph Peake and John Warrenberg. Well, David Ashford.
Well, you've got two sitting members who are, in a way, chalk and cheese, because David's been very upfront. He's been a minister. He's been very much in the public eye for what has been a very difficult time. What I would say is don't underestimate Ralph Peake. Ralph Peake's a quiet...
Let's come to him, though. David first, please. I mean, that's...
Oh, well, I would
solidly...
I would expect David to get back in, yeah.
Fine. But, done a good job and all that sort of thing. And
well, yes. I mean, COVID was a very, very, very difficult and challenging time, and it's easy to be a critic. But I think one should postpone comments about that until such time as, hopefully, in the next House, we have a public inquiry over certain things which were not good,
yes,
like
things,
Abbotswood, etc.
And
deeply concerned.
What was it in the hustings? Were there a lot of local questions, or was it more about him being the health minister?
It's another one that I didn't go to, actually. It was Noah went to this one, but I have watched a lot of this night, because they did very well on a large number of questions. Admittedly, there was only 3 of the candidates there. But just on your point, I think you are right. We do need, and I think it should be one of the first things Tynwald does.
Indeed.
Is to order a full public inquiry. And I know that people watch this who go, they've done a fantastic job, you're picking holes at them. And to an extent, yes, I am. But at the same time, there's issues around, there's 2 very senior professionals who have been... had a lot of mud thrown at them by the government in the past 18 months, and we need to know why, we need to know what went on. We've got the steam packet, whose crews were accused of essentially being criminals.
Well, I was involved in all of this.
And I know you've had this role to play in this, and these are issues where, and Abbotswood, like you say, we've got issues at the hospital and staffing up there and what's going on with a few things. There needs to be a full inquiry on this.
Indeed.
And
incidentally, I think it should be a judicial inquiry. It cannot be an inquiry led politically. I think it has to be completely separate. And I think it's a horrible phrase, but I think the Isle of Man as a whole, the relationship between government and the political process will come under quite close examination as a result of such an inquiry, and actually needs to. And
there's no criminal investigation on now. So everything's clear to be done now, isn't it? Because everyone's always been told we can't talk about it.
I would say this, that if anybody's watched that extraordinary programme called Health, the drama around that, it's just been on Channel 4 to show how the care homes were completely ignored at the start of this, and then related to the Abbotswood, you begin to see the position Abbotswood was in, and yet within a matter of a very short time after the awful deaths that occurred there, government slammed down on the Abbotswood establishment, almost witch hunt style, assessed it as being sub judice because there were criminal charges, to be pursued. A year later, nothing of the sort occurred. That alone needs serious examination. And I actually feel more strongly about that particular one issue than any other single thing that's happened in the last 5 years.
And just on, I know this, we have sort of hijacked the David Ashford section a little bit about this, but
sorry.
Quite frankly, he is the most senior-facing, public-facing member of the government who is up for re-election that was directly related to COVID, and I think that is why, but I do fully expect him to get re-elected.
Oh, I do too.
I think he'll get back in.
Kevin Olsen-Smith, a serial stander almost. I mean, he came out years ago to say he was standing Douglas East 2 years ago, then stood in Douglas South at by-election, and now he's going for Douglas North. And he was in Douglas Council for a while. Seems to like standing for elections, but in Douglas Council he didn't stay too long. I mean, I probed him about that in the interview, but...
What did he say?
Well, there's bullying going on and that sort of thing. So obviously the question you go back to is, well, welcome to the world you're going to be entering potentially.
Well,
here.
Politics is a tough game.
Yeah.
I mean...
But he says he's ready for it, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going to be very biased here. I hope that both David and Ralph get back in again. I think they've both got a lot to contribute.
Yeah. You got anything to say about him? I mean, that's sort of...
not particularly.
I don't particularly know him brilliantly. It'll be what it'll be in that constituency, quite frankly.
Okay.
I don't really know much.
Okay, but let's get to Ralph Peake. I mean, the quiet man, I referred to him a few times, but he's been a plodder. He's been in Treasury all the time.
But he's one of
ideas.
He's one of these guys who does a lot of good work behind the scenes. And I'll be honest. I mean, even I underestimated, and I've underestimated him on occasion, and I sit next to him, which is shameful on my part. But I've seen it. Sometimes his presentation on the floor of Tynwald has been a little bit lacking, but he's grown in confidence, particularly in the last few years, and that enhances this quiet Ralph Peake that is doing some really good work, and I think he'll come into his own in the next House if he gets elected.
When I've interviewed him, I said sometimes you've really improved, because years ago he couldn't even look me in the eyes. He was very quiet and that sort of thing. But yeah, future, if he gets back in a ministerial position, obviously we'll wait till he got in.
Well, to be honest, before the election, I had Bill Shimmons down as being the next Treasury Minister, because I thought there was an element there saying if Alf does ascend to the throne, as it were, then you'd think that would be a transition. I could easily see Ralph being in the job if he gets back in, which, to be honest, like you say, I think he will.
Yeah. And how did he do in? Did you see that one? Because I mean, did he?
I've seen it. He comes across as Ralph, to be honest. He's a weird politician in that I know people who live in the area who don't know him. They couldn't pick him out of a crowd. They couldn't pick him out of a lineup. But yeah,
I think the nice thing about Ralph is that he has that wonderful balance between being really focused on business and economic issues on the one hand, and a real, genuine, sincere social conscience on the other. And that's to be absolutely commended.
This is Quing and all the stuff he's doing with these mental health
job.
things.
I mean, he invited me to here. It just shows you how embarrassing my position was. He invited me to the Quing presentation down at the Villa Marina, and I thought, yeah, right, what's this? I mean, I walked out of that self-admonished, because the work being done is of a very, very good calibre. And that was the process of me assessing my failed appreciation of Ralph's contribution.
Okay.
I think this was hosted by Graham Lucas at the time at the Villa.
Yeah.
I went to party that evening when David Ashford was on the stage.
It was an all-day thing, wasn't it?
I went later on in the afternoon and listened to when David Ashford was being told why the health service was failing, and to be honest, it's sort of one of these, and through that and then through those other things, I've known Ralph a bit more, and when you see the work Quing has been doing, it's one of these where you're going, he's doing all this and he's not getting any sort of thing, but he's doing it because he has, like I say, social conscience, and
he's excellent.
But yeah, his eye on business is very good. So
okay, John Warrenberg, South African, who he did an interview. He won't mind me saying, I'm sure he wasn't over keen about doing interviews, but he did it and he enjoyed doing it, and I'm glad that he did do the interview and that sort of thing. Sports and Dining Club, everyone probably knows him from that. I don't know. Well, do you know much about him?
I know John. I mean, he's a nice guy. If he doesn't get in this time, we'll be interested to see if he has another go in the future. A test for somebody with the commitment that you sometimes need if you're going to be a serious deliverer of political engagement.
He come into our office when we first launched our questionnaire, spoke to him, and I think he's interesting because he's giving a voice to a lot of businesses who have been ignored, and like his, who I reckon most people in this island, or a good number of people in this island, will have been to an event that he's put on at some point, and you can say all you want, this is a trivial matter, but at the end of the day, he's somebody who's providing a business which many people have enjoyed on this island, and charities have made a lot of money out of on this island as well. And he feels that his business and the entertainment sector has been left behind from COVID, and they're not going to be able to recover. And there's going to be some people businesses who have not yet gone that may still go. And also, because of his work with the hotels, he's very aware of the problems they're facing and continue to face, as we've got other issues beyond just the borders. Of course, we have got issues on island which do need looking at in terms of hospitality offerings and tourism. And I think he's putting them voices forward. So it'll be interesting to see, because I wouldn't rule him out.
And if he does make it, he makes it on the basis that he will have a voice that will be heard. I think you'd agree with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. That's the candidates for Douglas North.